Does a class advisor need special talents?
I don't think they need special talents, although it would be nice if they've had some experience doing the various things, like either going through the academy, being a former cadet, being a former officer, going on board the ship, learning about the ship, doing things that these guys are going to end up starting out doing, so that they are familiar with that experience and then where they ran into difficulties and how they attack it. And if they went the wrong direction, what would they suggest you do differently? For example, the one about where Ebert is talking about being overly friendly with the troops, and then when he had a damage control problem, and they had a fire in a room, and somebody said, "You're not going to send me in there, Russ, are you?" Because he thought he was a friend. I would think the class advisor with experience would be good, not just one that's just a senior. Carol and I were a good choice as far as experience goes, because I'd been 15 years in the Coast Guard. I was trained by my wife to be a good Coast Guard representative, and they got me as a class advisor. And then the thing is, they bought Carol and me very early on because we had so much contact, both at the class meetings and many of their events.
Well, there's probably some people, especially in this day and age, who think of a class advisor being there for support, and a lot of it emotional support. And that's not necessarily the way you approach being a class advisor.
That's right. That's really true. When people get too emotionally involved, my take is usually just talk to them in a normal way and talk to them about life and how things happen and so forth. And pretty soon they get out of this uh, being uncomfortable about something, and pretty soon they're chuckling with you about something that's humorous or so forth. And then you've got them back to feeling like more like a normal human being and able to more likely to be able to solve their own problems by just talking to them. One of the things I think that is I'm most useful to the class is when a new widow calls me, just talking to them until I feel they kind of have a handle on things. They're just pretty much back to normal. And when I feel they're about there, like it didn't take very long with Jackie Wright, because the first thing she said, I told you what she said, did she called me to tell me that Jim had passed away, and I was telling her, well, that's Jim is in a better place now. He had Alzheimer's. He doesn't really know you very well. And so forth. He's in a better place. And then he was a very, very popular guy. In fact, Jim was one of my favorite guys in the class. And she came right back to me and said, Les, Jim was one of my favorite guys too, in a humorous way. She said right back to me, Les, Jim was one of my favorite guys too, And now, immediately, she's pretty well squared away.